Um, I don't have hard feelings with Musk, Trump said after the Tesla CEO's apology. But is that really the full story? New reporting now shows Trump's own top aides called Musk, urging him to retract and make amends. This wasn't just about smoothing things over. The financial stakes for Musk were massive, with billions in government contracts for Tesla and SpaceX potentially hanging in the balance if Trump decided to take action. So, how much power does a president actually hold over business figures like Musk? Trump's history offers some clear answers. Trump's power to reward or punish businesses. When it comes to the intersection of presidential authority and private enterprise, Trump stands out for his willingness to use the tools of his office to shape outcomes for businesses, especially those in the spotlight. During his presidency, Trump made it clear that loyalty mattered. He openly discussed the possibility of pulling billions in federal contracts from companies that didn't align with his agenda or that challenged him publicly. For someone like Elon Musk, whose companies depend heavily on government support, this approach introduced significant risk. Tesla's future relies on federal clean energy credits, which are worth billions and can be adjusted or restricted by the administration in power. These credits aren't just a boost, they're a core part of Tesla's bottom line and its ability to compete in the electric vehicle market. SpaceX, meanwhile, is even more directly tied to federal funding. In recent years, SpaceX has secured nearly $22 billion in contracts from NASA and the Department of Defense, making government business a central pillar of its operations. If those contracts were suddenly at risk, the impact would be felt immediately by shareholders and employees alike. Trump didn't hesitate to make these stakes public. He floated the idea of cutting off Musk's federal contracts and even referenced the potential loss of $38 billion in subsidies for Musk's companies if their relationship soured. These weren't empty threats. Trump's history showed he was willing to follow through. In the past, he's used tariffs, tax breaks, and contract decisions to send clear messages to business leaders. For Musk, the message was unmistakable. Staying on Trump's good side wasn't just about public image, it was about protecting the financial lifeblood of his companies. Faced with that kind of leverage, Musk had far more to lose than a bruised ego. The prospect of losing access to federal contracts or seeing tax credits dry up could put Tesla and SpaceX in a precarious position. Even before Trump's direct threats, Musk had seen the consequences of political fallout. Tesla's stock price dipped in response to his public disputes with Trump, and investors grew wary of potential government intervention. Musk's apology, then, looks less like a spontaneous act of goodwill and more like a calculated move. By reaching out, he aimed to shield his companies from the real possibility of retaliation. The stakes were simply too high to ignore. Other business leaders in similar positions have made similar moves, often reconciling with Trump when their company's futures hung in the balance. The pattern is clear. When the risk of government action looms, a public olive branch can be the safest bet. But that brings up an important question. Was Musk's apology truly his own idea? Or was there more going on behind the scenes? Reports suggest that Trump's inner circle may have played a significant role in shaping this reconciliation, raising new questions about who really initiated the outreach and why. So, 3. How Trump's inner circle pressured Musk. Inside Trump's orbit, the push to bring Musk back into alignment wasn't left to chance. NBC News confirmed 2 sources close to the former president say Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and Vice President Mike Pence reached out late last week. Their message was clear: a public reconciliation would be in everyone's best interest. This wasn't just friendly advice. It was a coordinated effort from the highest levels of Trump's team, aimed at neutralizing a rift that had the potential to disrupt both political and business priorities. These direct appeals weren't casual. According to the reporting, Meadows and Pence urged Musk to reconsider his public stance, emphasizing the risks of continued conflict with Trump. The timing of their outreach, coming just as tensions were escalating, suggests that Trump's advisors recognized the stakes for both sides. For Musk, the implications were obvious. A public apology could help secure his company's standing with the administration, while for Trump, Mending fences with such a high-profile figure would reinforce his image of influence and control. Trump's team has a track record of handling high-profile disputes with this kind of careful intervention. In a previous clash with a major media CEO, Trump's aides quietly offered policy incentives to smooth things over, demonstrating a pattern of strategic relationship management. This approach isn't about letting disagreements fester. It's about keeping powerful allies within reach when it matters most. Under that direct pressure, Musk's regret on X looks less like a sudden change of heart and more like a calculated retreat. The apology wasn't just about repairing a personal slight. It was a move shaped by the realities of power and business. Musk's enterprises, with billions in federal contracts and subsidies on the line, couldn't afford a drawn-out feud with someone who still holds significant sway over government decisions. For Trump, orchestrating this public reconciliation allowed him to project strength and unity, even in the face of criticism. This episode highlights how Trump's inner circle operates when influential relationships are at risk. Rather than letting a public spat spiral, they step in, applying pressure where it counts and guiding both parties toward a solution that preserves mutual interests. The fact that Musk's apology followed so quickly after these conversations points to the effectiveness of this behind-the-scenes strategy. Still, the nature of this reconciliation raises questions about its authenticity. When an apology is prompted by direct outreach from political power brokers, it's hard to know how much is genuine and how much is simply practical. Musk's move may have cooled tensions for now, but it also reveals how transactional these high-level interactions can become, where gestures of regret are as much about protecting business as they are about mending relationships. As we look at what comes next, it's worth considering whether this apology signals a true shift or just a temporary truce. The dynamic between Musk and Trump has never been straightforward, and this latest episode adds another layer of complexity to their ongoing relationship. Will this apology lead to a real partnership? Whether Musk's apology marks a turning point or just a brief pause, the question remains. Will it actually lead to a real partnership? Their relationship has always been defined by sharp shifts, sometimes working together, sometimes at odds. Musk briefly joined Trump's business advisory councils until disagreements over the Paris Climate Accord pulled him out, a clear early warning of their volatile tie. Since then, the pattern has repeated, moments of alignment followed by public clashes over policy, personality, or principle. Musk's recent moves show he's working hard to reset the tone. He quietly removed posts linking Trump to Jeffrey Epstein and echoed the White House's stance on the Los Angeles unrest, a clear signal he's back in Washington's good graces. These aren't just symbolic gestures. With around $38 billion in government contracts and subsidies at stake for Tesla, SpaceX, and his other ventures, Musk has strong incentives to keep the door open to federal support. Aligning with Trump's priorities, at least publicly, helps protect access to those funds and shields his companies from regulatory headaches. Looking at how Trump handles former allies, there's a pattern. He tends to bring people back into his orbit if it serves his interests. NBC's Garrett Hockey compared this to Steve Bannon's own falling out and return, a cycle of public disputes followed by quiet reintegration, as long as the individual can be useful to Trump's goals. Musk's apology fits this mold. It's less about rebuilding trust and more about keeping options open. For Trump, having Musk back in the fold, even temporarily, boosts his image as someone who can command the loyalty of top business leaders when it counts. Still, most analysts don't see this as a revival of their early close alliance. The days when Musk seemed inseparable from Trump after the 2016 election are unlikely to return. Musk's willingness to challenge Trump publicly in the past means there's always a chance for new friction. For now, the apology looks like a strategic retreat, a way to avoid direct conflict, keep government contracts flowing, and maintain a working relationship that benefits both sides. This isn't a full reunion. It's a tactical truce to keep Musk's billions in government deals safe and Trump's influence intact. The underlying tension remains, and both sides know that another disagreement could quickly upend this fragile peace. What happens next will depend on how each navigates the risks and rewards of staying aligned, and whether either is willing to make lasting compromises. This latest chapter shows just how much business and politics can intersect at the highest levels. The outcome of Musk's apology, and the choices both men make from here, could shape not just their futures, but the direction of entire industries. When you look at Musk's recent apology, it's clear this was more than a personal gesture. It was a calculated move to protect his business interests as political pressure mounted. With $38 billion in government contracts and subsidies on the line, Musk's decision to step back from public criticism shows just how much leverage political leaders can hold over even the most powerful CEOs. The 14% drop in Tesla's stock after the feud made the stakes obvious, and Musk's quick pivot was a direct response to those financial risks. If you want more inside looks at how politics shapes big business, hit like and subscribe. Musk's next move could reshape not just his companies, but the balance of power in Washington. So, stay tuned.